Haven't seen her in a while. Good morning, everybody. I'm just getting started this morning and still getting my pen and ink around and everything else, but I thought it would be as good a time as any to start streaming and say hello to people, and hope that you'll keep me company while I do a little bit of calligraphy practice. As a reminder, I am desperately nearsighted, and so the odds are good I am not going to be able to see your messages right away when they come in, but I'm going to keep an eye out for them anyway. I'm trying out some new equipment this morning. I'm wearing a microphone that I haven't tried before. I'm operating without headphones because of it, so I can't hear myself. So please let me know if the sound is too loud or too quiet or anything that I need to adjust, and I'll do my best. There is a bit of a delay between when YouTube broadcasts and what I've actually said, or between what I've said and what YouTube actually broadcasts, so I also may not see your message immediately when you type it, but I promise I'm not ignoring you. So right now, we're looking at a bunch of upside down calligraphy. Here's the practice that I completed a couple of days ago. This is the first poem of 2 poems for this knighting scroll that I'm working on. It is also going to include the Knight's Oath, and then the completed this date of whatever by the king and queen. It's going to include several miniatures, and I didn't bother putting miniatures over here on this first column because I just wanted to get the spacing right. I know that I need 21 lines of text to fit my miniature in. Let me take a look at this. If you look here, this was my attempt last year. Actually, no, 2019. This is what it looked like right before the house fire destroyed it. I had all the calligraphy complete. These are graph paper cutouts of the miniatures that I was going to use, and I was going to lay them down and trace them. If I recall correctly, I had them all traced, but I hadn't started any gilding or painting before the house fire happened. But you see here, I've got 21 lines of space for column 1 and column 2. And on my practice sheet, I just gave myself 21 lines and called it good. Over here, this is going to be column 3 and column 4. I once again have cutouts, thanks to the very gracious efforts of Aveline de Sarisbach, who took my images, saved them as PDFs, scaled them to the exact correct size, and worked with me and sent them to me several times until we got the exact measurements out of my printer so that I would have these and not have to start from scratch. I'm going to put graphite transfer paper down and then lay this in place and then trace over all the figures, and then I'll have a miniature and I'll be able to paint and I won't have to start from scratch, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Having these also lets me do some measurement spacing, which is what I'm doing right now. Laying these in place, making sure everything lines up correctly. Got a little bit of a gap here. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. I need to check my controls real quick. Yeah, that's not going to let me zoom in much farther. Sorry about that. If you're here and you're watching, feel free to type a hello. Yeah, let me see here. I'm sorry for the long period of silence. What I'm trying to do My lettering guide has given me all these lovely spaced lines in the column. And I am writing on every other line so that I have spaces in between that are nice and even. I have room for my ascenders and descenders on my letters. They're not going to bump into each other. This is a fairly compact alphabet, so I can go every other line rather than every third line. What that means, though, is that I have to space very carefully and count how many lines it takes to fit this miniature in. Excuse me. And I can't talk and work at the same time. I need to make sure that this all fits properly here, that the width of my borders is accurate, and that I'm not taking up too many lines, and that when I start writing again, it's not going to look weird and be out of alignment with the other columns. It looks like right now this is, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22. Does that seem right? 22 lines, really? I'm gonna double check that. Because over here, that's only 20 lines. How is it that over here this is 22? Maybe I'm taking into account the border. I'm not really sure. Regardless, that's how many lines of space this is going to take up. I'll be starting my miniature here. So there's a good gap so that I'm not bumping into the writing itself. See where that goes. Maybe it's only 21 lines. That still doesn't make sense because this column is supposed to be 21 lines. Look at that. Isn't that just the weirdest thing? See, I've got an extra line here. I think what I'm doing is giving myself extra space to be on the cautious side, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to give myself 21.5 lines. That's going to be annoying. Although that might be actually what I end up doing. I'm going to count lines on this miniature and see what happens. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, no, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Ha, it's 20.5. That's obnoxious. So if I wanted to, I could butt my next initial right up next to and start on line 21. That would be awfully tight. Maybe I'll just bump this down one. Maybe I will widen this border a bit. We'll figure it out. Don't I sound like Bob Ross, right? I can't tell if anybody's keeping me company right now, and that's okay. I'm not doing anything particularly interesting. This stream is being recorded. So if you don't see it now, maybe you'll watch it later. Regardless, I think I've puttered around enough with this miniature. It's probably time to start. I'm going to mark my lines. and hope that they line up properly. Yes, they do. Okay. And I'm going to start on line 22, just to be on the safe side. That'll give me room for some extra border if I need it up here. What have I got planned? Let's come back here and look at my guide sheet. Looks like I have the title of the next poem before I get into the big miniature here. And then I start writing. And I decided for this one, the lines on the first poem were quite long, so I just wrapped and didn't worry about where they broke, except for the stanzas. For the second poem, the lines are shorter, and down here I was able to fit them one per line, so I didn't have to worry about wrapping or anything. Up here, I just sort of made them fit as best I could. I have red ink, but since I'm practicing today, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to break out my oak gall ink. This is McCaffrey's Penman's ink. Looks like this. Get this out of the way. Pencil out of the way, get my pen ready. And away we go. This is like Bob Ross, only less interesting. So, I mean, if you're not into it, that is okay. I haven't done any warm-ups, which I may come to regret. I figured out that if I turn my camera around, I'm not able to just flip the image on this camera. So what you see is what I'm doing, which is upside down text. I wanted to show it to you right side up, but if I do that, I end up with a charge cord right in the way of the image, and it's a bit of a pain. Couplets on the Chivalric Virtues is the name of this poem. It's interesting to me in this particular script style, the ways that the letters touch in places. We're used to, with the modern eye, letters not bumping into each other like that. But they often took advantage of shared strokes to compact the letters a little bit and fit more words on the page. I have a tickle in my throat that just won't quit. Not sure how long I'm going to be at this today. I do have to work at 1. I would like to eat before that. I can't really imagine being on here for 3 hours in any case. So now I've got my title, it's time to fit my capital in. My capital is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines high, which is pretty huge. If I remember right, that is about 1.5 inches square. And I have a ruler around here, but it's huge. One of these days I'm going to find a 6-inch ruler and it will be my best friend. I'm going 1/4 inch out from my margin and 1.25 inches in. And then I'm going down 8 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm doing that again. And then it's just a matter of connecting the dots. And I'm not going to use a gigantic straight edge. That's ridiculous. As ridiculous as my giant ruler is. This is my Ames lettering guide. This is a wonderful tool, a godsend for every scribe, because it gives you these nice even letters, that nice even line spacing to work with, so that your lettering looks much more consistent. It's fantastic. It's also a lovely straight edge, so I'm going to use it because it's not 18 inches long and taking up all kinds of space and just generally being awkward. Awkward is my job, not my straight edges. Now I do something a little unusual here. I don't know how well you can see this or how well my camera is zooming in right now. It has a tendency to focus on my hand rather than on the text, which is irritating. But I don't like to go all the way to the bottom of the line. I like to give myself space and go halfway through this line so that when I start writing down here, I have space for my ascenders and descenders. That doesn't look quite square, actually, which is unusual because my last one was. I think I'm a line short. So I'm just going to fudge it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. And this is a capital T because the first letter of the poem is the word, well, the first word is the word the. I'm just going to put a giganimous letter T in here. It has a crossbar. And it looks like that, and it's really cool. And I have several really nice examples of letter T's that I can put in there and decorate later. For now, I just need it as a guide. Pencil out of the way. Back to the fun stuff. A chain of chivalry of many links composed is. This poem courtesy of Ursula Mortimer, who is apprenticed to Dr. Henry Best and is a fantastic poet. I only hope I can make her words look as pretty as they sound. I don't know if you can hear my pen scratching on my page, but it is. I'm in a very quiet room, and all I can hear is the air conditioning and my babbling voice. I've had to more or less invent a letter K to go with this, because I could not find a K anywhere in the entire text. Not that I've studied all 200 pages of it, mind you, but I did look. I found X's and I found Z's. I did not find a K. Here we are on the second line of the poem. Isn't that exciting? I'm writing a poem. Sort of. Some people write poems, I just copy them. Composed is. Not as the peasant thinks. According to YouTube, there is one other person watching, but I have no idea who it is. Feel free to say hello. Now, one thing I'm going to do differently here from the text that was given to me is capitalizations. I am imitating a manuscript that only capitalized the first letter of every sentence or the word God. This was called the Romance of Alexander, and even Alexander himself was not capitalized throughout the text. The names of kings and queens, they didn't capitalize. So even though in the poem the word prowess and the other virtues of chivalry are capitalized, I won't be. My phone has just pinged me with a Facebook message, but unfortunately I can't check my phone right now because it's my main camera. I suppose I could pause. If you're watching, welcome. Feel free to say hi in the live chat if you can. I see someone. Hey, Elphilan, it's good to see you. I'm glad you were able to join us. Us. By us, I mean me. I think you're the only other person watching, and that's okay. Let me know if the sound is okay. Oh, I see somebody else is here. My eyesight is terrible. Sarah Sampson. Hello. Hi. Glad you could make it. If you need me to zoom in or change the camera, or if the sound is bad, please do let me know. I'm doing my best. The camera does not want to zoom in very much for me. Let me see. There we go. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. I have a microphone that I'm wearing. It probably picks up every little burp that I make. I'm drinking a little bit of coffee. It's probably gonna make me burp. You needed to know that as part of this calligraphy stream, didn't you? But by his sacred oath unto the throne, by his sacred oath. The microphone is picking up me. Hopefully it is not picking up my cat yowling in the next room. I'll probably come back when I go and decorate and do some line fills here in blue and gold. Some nice pretty little swirls and what have you. But today is just calligraphy practice. I admit this is not the sexiest live stream right now because I'm not working on the vellum. I don't have the miniatures in front of me. I'm not painting in pretty colors. I am merely making sure that the spacing is right on all my calligraphy. So I'm working on this column, which will be column 3 of the scroll. Column 4 of the scroll will have another miniature. Where did it go? I'll have to find it. And once I have that, then I will be ready to suck up some courage, put lines on my parchment, and away I go. I'm trying to decide if I can compete for most boring live stream ever and actually stream it when I put all the pencil lines on the parchment. Probably won't. Here we go. The chain of chivalry of many links composed is, not as the peasant thinks of prowess sole, nay, not by might alone, but by his sacred oath unto the throne. In fair humility a knight is made and kept by faith. It's a nice poem. I like the poem. I just need to make it look pretty. It looks like I have more than 3 viewers. That's always nice. Feel free to say hello. Feel free to ask any questions. I will answer them as best I can. Good Lord, Willow. We have a black cat. Her name is Willow. We adopted her earlier this year. And she is convinced that we're trying to starve her to death. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, she will yowl. Either we're trying to starve her to death or we've abandoned her to die. I'm not sure which it is, but she will yowl at the top of her lungs. And she's doing it right now in the next room, and I don't know if this microphone is picking it up, but if it is, I promise we're not torturing the cat. Humility. This alphabet is nice. I'm imitating a manuscript that was written in the 1300s. I believe it was finished with illumination in 1344, which was about 5 or 6 years after the writing itself was done. So the manuscript was complete in 1344. And it's roughly around the time that they decided to invent dotting your I's. Because the lettering can be very picket fence. If you look at the word humility here, I know it's upside down, but bear with me. U-M-I-L-I. This is all very squished together, and it can be hard to tell which letters are which, and so they finally started putting little slashes above the I's so that you could see that it was an I and not part of a U or an N or an M. All that said, I am not nearly the expert on either ancient manuscripts or paleography, which is ancient writing systems, that I would like to be. I left out a word because I was talking. In fair humility a knight is made. So to check my spacing, I'm going to squish that word in right here and just pretend that it belongs there. Now, obviously, if I were doing this for real, I would have to go back, scrape all this off, start over. It'd be a pain. But since all I'm doing right now is checking spacing, I can just put the word in where, at the end of the line and call it good. In fair humility a knight is made and kept by faith. This is what happens when I try to socialize and write at the same time. I love having people keeping me company, I do. But trying to talk and write uses too many parts of my brain, I think. According to YouTube, I have people watching, which is nice. If you have any comments or if you just want to say hello, feel free. If you'd rather just watch and get your soothing nature noises and the visual of calligraphy, upside down calligraphy, that's fine too. The service of his blade. I keep getting Facebook notifications, which is cool, but I can't check them right now. I should probably go back and edit these videos and make them interesting by speeding up the writing. But I wanted to show people that it's not really a fast process. You just do what you do, one letter at a time, and let it build. And it's very soothing. It takes your focus. I like it. It's satisfying watching it come together. But it does take patience. The service of his blade he owes as champion to great and small. Alright then. Another cool thing this manuscript did, hopefully you can see this gap here. And in my first couple columns of text, there's a gap here as well. They had a space between the first letter of the word, or the first letter of the line, and then the rest of the text. And in a poem where it was one line of text per line of page, it looked really cool. You could capitalize these letters, and there would be little red decorations like dots or slashes in them, and it all looked really nice. Since I just sort of squished all the text in more prose-like the rhymes, the ends of the poems are in through the middle here, a lot of these are lowercase letters rather than capitalized. This one's capitalized, because I got lucky. Over here, I get to use capitals because this is a much shorter lined poem, and I can fit one line of poem per line of page. He owes as champion to great and small. Yeah, well, that's how I want those letters. I have a tickle in my throat. About a week now. I apologize for the sound effects that come with that. Another fun quirk of this alphabet. I'll show you here in just a moment. The word small has two L's in it, side by side. And in this manuscript, those L's get a little slash across them. Excuse me, sorry. And courtesy that shall embrace them all. Oh, I get to use shall and all and do it again. Little slash. Fun word. Fun letter Y. Shall embrace them all. How many people have I got watching? 4? 4's not bad. I think one of them might be me, because I have 2 cameras going. It might count me as one of my viewers. So 3 of you. Hello. Again, I'm not expecting to get millions of people watching this, and that's cool. But I appreciate you taking time to keep me a little bit of company while I do this. Hopefully I'll be able to fit this next word in. Some of my spacing here is a little wide. I don't know if you can see it or not. Here and here. I don't want to squish my letters, but I do want to watch my spacing so I can fit them all in. For their need must his largesse e'er be free. Here we go. They do a really cool capital F in this alphabet. It looks like a P. Hopefully when I'm blowing dust off the page, I'm not also blowing into the microphone and making incredibly loud noises. Please let me know if that's the case, and I will do my best to stop. looks like it'll fit, I think. Let's find it. Yay! That's probably the longest line in the poem, so I should be good. Now, my text is here. So I need to change pages real quick. Set those off to the side. Keep on trucking. What I'm going to do, I think, is finish this poem and then see whether my hand is tired enough or rested enough to continue. I can pause and answer questions, whatever people would like. I'm perfectly happy. I'll have to pause because I'm so nearsighted. I'll have to put my glasses back on to see your messages, but I'll do my best. All right, let's do a sip of coffee. Starbucks sugar bomb made with 4 espressos. An alert. With wealth, with deeds, with his society. Okay. With is a fun letter. W is a fun letter. With deeds. I hope I'm not boring you. If you're watching, I'm going to assume that I'm not boring you. So I mentioned this is a compact script, and I'm using only every other line here to put text on. Ordinarily, that gives me plenty of room for my descenders and my ascenders to not bump into each other, but every once in a while I get carried away, and this G I had a feeling was going to give me trouble, and it did. I've got 2 letters touching. I don't think it's the end of the world. But it is something I want to avoid just for readability's sake. And aesthetic, you know. Society. Yeah, I'm going to be able to fit all these lines on, and that makes me really happy. A giver of true friendship more than gold. That's a nice line. Any questions or comments so far? Feel free to leave them in the chat. I really appreciate you stopping by for what that's worth. Coming and watching me do calligraphy practice rather than the interesting stuff. I have a feeling I'll get a lot more viewers once I start playing with gold and painting and doing all that stuff on the actual vellum. Friendship, more than gold. Yes. Next line. Yet weightier still in honor to uphold. Okay, double capital Y. Let's find out. I suspect it'll be on giant size. Other Y. Yep. I can't tell if I'm losing connection. I hope everybody is able to watch all right and isn't having any issues with the stream. If you are, please let me know and I'll do my best to fix that. Weightier still. That's a good word. Weightier. Still. That double L again, and still I get to do that slash. That's just fun. I think it looks cool. You're still in honor to uphold. This franchise he must seek. And in his mind, the mother of all virtues, courage find. A lot of text. My hand is getting a little tired. But I think I should be able to continue this, come up to the top, do the Oath of Chivalry, fit the next miniature on. I should be able to do all the text today, I think. We'll find out. It's franchise. There are exercises, warm-ups, practices, things that you can do to keep yourself from getting hand cramps or tired hands or sore arms. If you grip the pen too tightly, you can cause strain all the way up to your elbow if you're not careful. I've done it, it's not fun. You can give yourself carpal tunnel, which is really a shame when you think about it. His franchise, let's see. Everybody having a good time? And that's just pleasing. See how nice and evenly spaced those strokes are? That makes me happy. It's the word must, if you can't read upside down, which I would not really expect you to. I'm used to it because I've been scribing upside down for a lot of years. I produced my first award scroll for our spring event in April of 2000. I did some wedding vows in December or maybe October of 1999. And I've been scribing off and on ever since, so I won't say 20 years. But, with time off in there, I won't say 20 years. But probably 15 to 17 years pretty easily. And every once in a while you find things that just make you happy in a very nerdy, niche sort of way. You must seek. For a invented letter K, that looks pretty nice. I'm a little sad that people aren't chatting. That's probably for the best. I'm pretty horrible at remembering to check the chat. In his mind, the mother of all virtues, courage find. some nature sounds playing in the background, or at least I'm supposed to. So I hope those are at least filling the silence for when all you hear is a scratching of my pen on paper. Assuming the microphone is picking that up. I know some people find that sound soothing, and other people, it drives them a little bit nuts. To boldly speak in proof of what is right. Now, what I'm finding interesting here. Oh, I see what's going on. In my previous example of this scroll, if you look at it, my last line is the mother of all virtues, courage find. And I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines up above the miniature. Now here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines above the miniature. And I still have 2 lines left down here, so that tells me that I had more room than I thought I did. I can afford to jump down 1 more line, at least, when I do this for real. I'm going to make a note. 1 line down. And the reason I care about this is because I don't want to have like one little orphan line at the top of the next column and then the miniature. It'll look weird. Fortunately, I'm not planning on doing that when I do the Oath of Chivalry. It's going to take up a little more space. Mother of all virtues, courage find, to boldly speak in proof of what is right. Okay. On the other hand, if I do go ahead and do that, if I use these bottom 2 lines here, that's not actually a bad thing because it means I finished the poem neatly right here. Hop up to this column and it says the Oath of Chivalry. I write the Oath of Chivalry, I put the miniature. That might actually look pretty cool. We'll find out. Boldly speak and proof of what is right. And the reason, that's actually the main reason I'm doing sort of a boring live stream, you know, the practice and everything. This is the unsexy part. This is the part that nobody ever really sees. But these are the decisions that make the piece look good in the end. This is where you decide your spacing. This is where you decide your margins. This is where you decide how much space that text is going to take up. And it's not pretty. It is admittedly not pretty to look at. I've got scribbles, I've got notes, I've got weird shapes here. But ultimately, this information is what I put on the vellum in a way that makes it look aesthetically pleasing. The prettier the scroll is, the more work went into it in the background where nobody is looking. And today's live stream is definitely about the background work. And I recognize that that's not, you know, it's not gold and it's not pretty colors. And I don't blame people for wanting to see that kind of thing. But I also wanted to show this scroll's progress from the very beginning, including the unattractive parts. So I hope you don't mind. If you're following, I'm going to assume that you don't mind, and I'm grateful that you're here to boldly speak in proof. Ha! See, this is what happens when I don't pay attention. I get talking. Boldly speak. I in proof. What is right? Is there anybody here watching who is not a scribe themselves? Somebody is saying, I never realized you wrote upside down. That is true. It's a left-handed trick. Not every left-hander uses it, but it works well for me.